All right, let's jump over to this first story, and we're just chilling. It's Friday, so we're just having a good time. I was having a good time until I saw this tweet from Ford Fisher. He says, Joe Biden's new anti-terror initiative classifies anarchist violent extremists that oppose all forms of capitalism, corporate globalization, and governing institutions, which are perceived as harmful to society, as domestic violent extremists. Bravo, friends. You've done this to yourself. Here's what it says. I see categories of domestic violent extremists. Now, of course, you can see right here, it's kind of small. It says anarchist, violent extremist. I read that. That's basically Antifa. I know they didn't say Antifa, but they said Antifa. But check this out. Racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists. Animal rights and environmental violent extremists. Abortion-related violent extremists. And that says pro-life or pro-choice.
So every abortion doctor. I would hope. They're not going to enforce it that way, obviously.
Anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists and all other domestic terror threats. You know what I love about how stupid this is? It's like they pulled a random word out of a hat and then added violent extremists to it. Like, what would be the difference? Like, why wouldn't they just add, like, cheese connoisseur violent extremists?
Yeah. Well, no, here's the thing. It's a classic tactic. You make everybody a criminal so that you can selectively prosecute the people who you actually don't like, but claim that the law's impartial.
Well, to be fair, we were criticizing the federal government on using very vague, generalized language. This is very descriptive language, but it also involves almost everyone involved in politics. Yeah. And the list goes on and on. It's even beyond what even Ford tweeted about, because, again, there's animal rights activists, environmentalists, anarchists that oppose capitalism and globalization, pro-life groups, pro-choice groups. I mean, you have this huge window that, of course, could be interpreted in so many different ways, attached to so many different things. And this is, again, a part of a larger federal government initiative that will be using tens of millions of tax dollars, working with social media companies in order to track, database, spy, indict, and prosecute people who they deem as, quote, perceived as harmful to society. And when you use that kind of language, you could use that language in so many different ways against so many different people.
Exactly.
And it's insane.
Michael Bloomberg said that large sodas were harmful to society and that we should be allowed to buy them.
And now there's people running to be mayors of mayor of New York City that are actually running on that campaign.
You know what this reminds me of? Imagine just Joe Biden's like standing there, and they're like, and there's a journalist like, so, Mr. President, your new domestic terror initiative. What kind of groups will you be going after? Will you be going after anarchists? He's like, oh yes, absolutely, right to jail. And what about pro-life groups? Right, believe it or not, jail. And pro-choice groups? Oh, right to jail. Yes. Like pro-life, pro-choice, anarchists, anti-corporate, anti-globalists, like all of them, just shuffle them all into the jail.
All to jail.
Yeah, undercooked chicken, right to jail. Overcooked, believe it or not, jail. That's where we're at. I hope you enjoy the future, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, welcome to the domestic violent extremist list. You know, it's all hunky-dory. But yeah.
I'm just going to stew in this for a minute.
Is that, are we really letting it sink in? Audience, we're just going to sit here and be quiet? We really want you to
that's it. This. Like, it's basically saying everybody.
But I know, but again, I really, it's not going to be everyone. They're going to selectively enforce it.
Oh, you know.
It's going to be whoever's a threat to the regime.
You know it.
Which is not going to be Antifa because they use Antifa.
Exactly. The Antifa is the militant arm of the Democratic Party.
Kind of. Like,
they don't agree with the Democratic Party on everything, but there's a reason people like Kamala Harris and normie establishment Democrats bail them out of prison.
Right. It's because they're really dumb. And it's like, here's how you got to imagine Antifa. There's like some 17-year-old standing around hunched over picking their nose. And then they're like, this is stupid. Everyone's stupid. You're stupid. And then the Democrats come up and they're like, hey, look, he's stupid. You're right. He is stupid. And then they go, yeah. Go put on a black mask and throw a brick. Yeah, I'm going to put on a black mask and throw a brick. And that's Antifa.
Yeah, so this is kind of a classic tactic, though. Antifa doesn't have to be completely in line with the Democratic Party. The analogy, and I saw this somewhere, not about Antifa, but just this sort of a joke about the way extremist groups work. You have some guy asking for $5, just give me $5 for no reason, and then a guy with a knife saying, give me $10 or I'll cut you up. Like, okay, they don't agree on the amount. The Democratic Party is not as far to the left as Antifa is, but it's clear that they make the Democratic Party seem less insane by comparison, and they help them achieve their goals because they frighten people into being subservient.
I don't really agree because the media doesn't talk about Antifa. Like, people don't know about what they do. You know, they go around burning things. People know about
what they do, but the media doesn't condemn them. And I think that sends an even stronger message. Everyone knows these people are out there vandalizing and hurting people, and the only time anyone makes news is when they defend themselves against them.
Unless you're a cult member. Like, there are a lot of people I know who are just like, Antifa doesn't exist. And I'm like, wait, here's an
idea.
article.
Joe Biden's one of them.
Like, here's a video of a guy throwing a brick through the window. That's not real.
Did you see that idea,
What?
throwing a brick through a window? That was amazing.
That idea. There's a lot of people who just don't. It's creepy, man. I know people, personal friends of mine, who I'm just like, how did they get to this point where they're like insane?
Yeah.
They're not. What was that thing? I think Luke, you posted it. Maybe you didn't. It said people who don't agree with like critical gender theory have a warped sense of reality, according to a new study or something.
I post a lot of
Pink news
memes out there.
Pink news. A warped sense of reality. It's like
it's projection.
You turn on CNN. You know, I love it. I love this. They were CNN's complaining today because Joe Rogan called out Brian Stelter, and then someone like Brian Stelter retweeted someone saying, you know, the entire right-wing propaganda machine is coming down on you. You know, you must be doing something right or whatever. And I'm looking at that because I'm like, Brian, the right-wing propaganda machine? Like, dude, you're not the resistance. Like, you're the empire. You know what I mean? Like, you're Goliath. You work for CNN. You're not the little guy. You are the villain.
Also,
You've always been.
Joe Rogan being the right-wing propaganda machine is hilarious to me. I believe,
and it was Kyle Kalinske. It was Joe Rogan and Kyle Kalinske talking about
That's hilarious. Yeah, the right-wing propaganda machine, Kyle Kalinske and Joe Rogan.
Yep.
It's funny when I first started college, the first class I ever took at community college. I want to say this was 2013. My professor was a left-wing guy by the standards at that time, and he was recommending Joe Rogan to me. And I was like, "Oh, this is probably left-wing nonsense." But I tuned in anyway, and I really enjoyed it, and I respected that professor as well. So I decided to take his advice. And it's just funny to me how maybe 3 or 4 years after that, I was hearing about how like Joe Rogan was this far-right conservative bigot, even though initially his show had been recommended to me by left-wing people.
It's amazing. I mean, if that's the ideology that is driving this Joe Biden initiative, they can say anarchist extremist all they want, but I thought about this. You know, like the far left thinks anyone to the right of Stalin is far right.
Yes.
Can you go lefter than far left? Like what happens?
They're trying.
I think you can make a full circle.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, but hold on.
Around.
In terms
it's
of
like Pac-Man, dude.
In terms of economics, you've got communism, total command economy, totally centralized and controlled, and then on the right you have totally decentralized and competitive, right?
Well, I guess that's sort of the authoritarian libertarian, right? But I guess if you go far to the right, you end up with a lot of control.
The economic right is decentralization. It's laissez-faire.
Absolutely.
And the economic left is centralization and control.
Yes, yeah.
So on the political spectrum, left is communist, right is capitalist. What if you're like on the furthest left where you're a total communist, like is there another? Because like if these people think they're centrists, no joke. Like they post a meme
I know.
where it's like Bernie Sanders is in the middle. And then it's like to the left of him is nothing. And I'm like, bro, you can't be lefter than that. Like, you're a socialist. You believe the economy should be under command authority. Like, I don't know where you go after that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I remember people calling Obama a moderate.
Yeah, but the thing is, it already is. It's already centralized with the Federal Reserve.
Yes,
printing money out of thin air,
Yes.
helping the big banks make sure that they never lose, make sure that they get to keep their profits. We're already in a very centralized economy that they've won. CNN is in power.
Absolutely.
The institutions have been all taken over. The cultural institutions have all been taken over. Every aspect of people's existence is dominated by this, except for the Supreme Court. And there's even arguments to make that has been compromised by a lot of establishment elites. And we have to understand what's happening here. I mean, we also have to see this from this window that, Joe Biden's not really calling the shots there. If there ever was an argument that there was men in the shadows really running things, it's Joe Biden being able to speak for himself. When you see Joe Biden speak for himself, that is the biggest case you can make that there's a shadowy group of special interest behind the scenes that are really calling the shots. And what are they doing? They're passing these very vast definitions of their new anti-terrorism initiatives. They're trying to disarm people, and they're trying to take away more of their money with this latest death tax proposal, which would absolutely destroy the middle class and fail people from even inheriting property in the future in most American cities. When you have all of that and combined together, you're like, wait, hold on. The walls are closing in here.
It's interesting. We did a video on this for the Foundation for Economic Education, and death taxes and inheritance taxes actually increase income inequality because the middle class and lower class inherit more of their wealth, a larger percentage of it than the upper class do.
Businesses, people's houses, whenever they get passed down to them, farms,
part of it.
They can't keep them because they have a huge tax burden, which is put on them by the state. And now the special interests behind Biden want to increase that tax burden.
Do you see when Biden was speaking and he accidentally said Libya 3 times instead of Syria?
Yes, in 90 seconds.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how funny would it be if, like, it's, Biden's in the Oval Office and then, like, someone runs in, like, the door barges open and he runs in and he's sweating and his tie is undone and he slams a folder on the table and he goes, Mr. President, it's Syria with weapons of mass destruction. We must act now before it's too late. And then Biden goes, oh, and he picks up the red phone and he goes, fire the missiles at Libya. And then, like, the missiles go flying at Libya. And then,
you go, fire at Libya, the thing.
No, fire at Libya. And then the ICBMs go out. And then the one guy goes, sir, did you mean Syria? And then the spokesperson goes, he did mean Syria. And then the missiles blow up and wipe out Libya, sparking World War III. Why did America blow up Libya? And it's like, Biden's like, oh.
Then Biden's like, I meant to do that.
I said Syria. Come on, man. You know what I meant. You pushed the wrong button. What are you doing? And then, like, Libya gets wiped out, then France gets mad because a bunch of French soldiers were there, and then World War III, and that's
Libya's already pretty wiped out because of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Also very true, yeah.
Yes, that is true.
That's where they have human slavery that was brought to you by the first black president of the United States that literally did it through regime change and financed radical terrorist groups in the region that now have a complete control grid on the immigration that is going through Africa into Europe, with human traffickers now being emboldened and enriched more than ever before.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., so come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.